Have you ever met a girl and after just a few messages, she asks you, "What's your zodiac sign?" And maybe in your mind you thought, "Here we go. Another one. Another astrology girl. Another person who thinks Mercury retrograde is the reason she didn't answer for 3 days." But now I have to be honest. Maybe I was too quick to laugh. Maybe she was not completely crazy. Maybe she was seeing something I was not ready to take seriously. I'm not saying she was right about everything. I am not saying astrology is automatically real, but maybe behind what I always called stupid superstition, there was something more, or at least something worth investigating: astrology. And this is where another rabbit hole started for me. Because after my Kundalini-type awakening, I started to look differently at things I had ignored or dismissed my whole life: near death experiences, Eastern mysticism, tarot readings, chakras, invisible energy fields, manifestation, mindfulness, the self healing power of the body, astral projection, remote viewing, lucid dreaming, and even things that sound more scientific like quantum entanglement, quantum mechanics, and piezoelectricity. I am not saying I believe everything blindly. Actually, at the beginning, I was still very doubtful. I was not looking for a new religion. I was not trying to become an astrology person. I was just noticing that after what happened to me, I could not laugh immediately at everything I could not explain. My question changed. Before I would ask, "Is this stupid?" Now I was asking, "What if there is something here that I don't understand yet?" And still, astrology was one of the last things I would have considered. For me, it was too much. Planets, zodiac signs, birth charts. Come on, I could consider energy, I could consider consciousness, I could consider mystical experiences. But planets influencing personality and life patterns, that still felt too far. Astrology was still the last boss of the rabbit hole. But then I kept seeing videos in my feed talking about it, and not only the basic horoscope stuff, not just Aries is angry, Pisces is emotional, Leo wants attention. I started seeing people talking about deeper things: full birth charts, houses, aspects, moon signs, rising signs, north node, midheaven, astrocartography, numerology, Chinese zodiac, life purpose, manifestation style. And eventually, just out of curiosity, I did a complete chart reading on myself, and honestly, I did not know what to think. Part of me expected generic nonsense, part of me was curious, and part of me was ready to say, okay, this is just vague language. Anyone could recognize himself in this. But the more I read, the more uncomfortable it became, because it was not only saying generic things like, "You are brave, but sometimes sensitive." That means nothing. It was describing patterns, the way I react, the way I think, the way I communicate, the way I defend myself, the way I isolate, the way I connect with people, the way I perceive reality, the way I move through relationships, the way I search for meaning, the way I transform pain into something practical, the way I can be intense, sensitive, independent, spiritual, skeptical, and structured at the same time. It was describing my inner contradictions, my instincts, my emotional patterns, my way of seeing the world, my way of interacting with people. And I had this strange feeling like, how the hell does this thing know this? I expected entertainment. I got a mirror. It did not just describe my sign, it described how I experience life from the inside. And that was the first moment where I stopped laughing. Not because I suddenly became a blind believer, but because I could not honestly dismiss it anymore. So I went deeper. I started researching what astrology can actually include when it is not just a daily horoscope. And I realized most of us are judging astrology by the supermarket version of astrology. The daily horoscope is not the whole system. It is like judging Italian cuisine by ketchup pasta. A complete chart can include your sun, moon, and rising, your planets and signs, your planets in houses, your aspects, your north node and south node, your midheaven, your shadow patterns, your higher expression, your relationship patterns, your career direction, your life purpose, your astrocartography, your numerology, your life path number, your Chinese zodiac, your manifestation type, even things like the lot of spirit or lot of manifestation, which are supposed to show how your inner purpose becomes concrete in the world. So I built a prompt for ChatGPT. I wanted a system I could test, not only one zodiac sign, a complete symbolic profile. I only had to add name, birthplace, date of birth, exact time of birth, and ChatGPT would generate a full personal profile. The prompt asked for the natal chart, astrocartography, numerology, Chinese zodiac, Life purpose, manifestation type, higher and lower expression, strengths, weaknesses, relationship patterns, career directions, spiritual lessons, and a forecast for the next month. The idea was simple. If astrology is nonsense, it should fail when applied deeply. So I tried it on myself first. But then the rational part of me came back, and it said, wait, maybe this is confirmation bias. Maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe the words are vague enough that I am filling the gaps myself. Maybe I am seeing myself because I want to see myself. So I decided to test it on people who were not me, family, friends, people close to me. I generated charts for them too. And that was even more disturbing because it was not only me recognizing myself, they recognized themselves. I recognized them and we recognized each other. We were reading these charts and finding details that were not just generally true. They were disturbingly accurate, sometimes down to the smallest details. The way someone reacts under pressure, the way someone communicates, the kind of emotional wounds they carry, the way they love, the way they avoid conflict, the way they create conflict, the way they think, the way they protect themselves, the way they repeat the same pattern, the way they see reality, the way they behave in relationships, the way they sabotage themselves, the way they show affection, the way they hide fear. And the strange thing was, it was not only each person saying, yes, this sounds like me, it was the others saying, yes, this is exactly you. And then reading another chart and saying, and this is exactly him, and this is exactly her. Not every word was perfect, not every sentence was magical, but the overall picture was too accurate to ignore. It felt like each chart had a different psychological fingerprint, different reactions, different emotional structures, different strengths, different weaknesses, different contradictions, different life themes. And the more we compared them, the stranger it became, because we were not only recognizing our own chart, we were recognizing each other in each other's charts. That was the moment where my first honest reaction was, look at those motherfucking astrology people. Maybe they were not joking. Maybe they were actually looking at something. Maybe behind what we call superstition, there is a symbolic system we forgot how to understand. But then came the bigger doubt. And this is where the rabbit hole became serious, because if a chart can describe so much about how I react, how I think, communicate, how I perceive reality, how I love, how I protect myself, and how I repeat patterns, then how much of me is actually free? If the birth moment, the planets, numerology, body chemistry, trauma, family, culture, genetics, and maybe karma influence me so much, am I really choosing or am I reacting? Am I free or am I running software? This question disturbed me because on one side, I do not want to believe we are just puppets. But on the other side, I cannot pretend we are completely blank pages. We are not born empty. We are born with a body, a nervous system, a family, a country, a historical moment, a temperament, a genetic structure, a childhood, a culture, a language, a set of emotional reflexes, maybe even a karmic structure. So I don't think we have infinite free will. I cannot simply erase my body, my family, my place of birth, my past, my temperament, my nervous system, my sensitivity, my childhood patterns, my automatic reactions. But I also don't think we have zero free will. There is something in me that can observe, pause, respond, choose, train. Maybe we are born with limits, but inside those limits, there is still mastery. And the best image I found is this. The birth chart is like a musical instrument. One person is born as a violin, another as a drum, another as an electric guitar, another as a piano. The instrument has limits. A violin will never sound exactly like a drum. A drum will never sound exactly like a flute. But inside each instrument, there is enormous freedom. You can play badly, you can play noise, you can play chaos, you can repeat the same ugly note your entire life. Or you can train, you can listen, you can refine, you can become a master. So maybe the chart is the instrument, but free will is how I play it. The stars may choose the instrument, but they do not choose the song. Destiny gives the raw material. Free will is the craft. And this changed the way I look at astrology, because astrology becomes dangerous if it makes me fatalistic. If I say, my chart says I'm like this, so I cannot change, then astrology has become another prison, another excuse, another identity trap, another spiritual decoration for victimhood. But if I say, this is my automatic pattern, now I can work with it consciously, then astrology becomes useful because every placement has a lower and higher expression. My fire can become anger or courage. My sensitivity can become confusion or intuition. My rebellion can become isolation or vision. My wounds can become excuses or medicine. My discipline can become punishment or magic. Maybe free will is not the freedom to become absolutely anything. Maybe free will is the choice between the lower and higher expression of my own pattern. I may not choose the instrument, but I choose the level of mastery. So maybe the real prison is not the chart. Maybe the real prison is unconsciousness. When I don't know my pattern, the pattern lives me. I think I am choosing, but I am reacting. Reacting from childhood, reacting from fear, reacting from trauma, reacting from hunger, stress, pride, old wounds, family programming, culture, media, the body, the nervous system. And maybe astrology, when used correctly, does not say, this is who you are forever. Maybe it says, this is your automatic version. Now look at it. Now work with it. Now choose a higher expression. The unconscious person is lived by the chart. The conscious person learns to play the chart. And maybe the awakened person turns the chart into service. That is where I am now. I am not telling you to believe everything. I am not saying astrology is scientifically proven. I am not saying to worship the stars. I am saying I tested something I used to laugh at, and now I cannot dismiss it so easily anymore. So I created the full prompt I used for myself, my family, and my friends. I attached it here. You just add your name, birthplace, date, and exact time of birth, and you can generate your own complete chart. Not to trap yourself in destiny, not to become fatalistic, not to excuse your weaknesses, but to ask better questions. Don't use the chart to excuse yourself. Use it to study yourself. The point is not to worship the stars. The point is to stop being unconscious. Maybe destiny gives us the raw material, but free will is the craft. Maybe the stars choose the instrument, but not the song. Maybe the chart is not the prison. Unconsciousness is the prison. So the real question is not, what does my chart say? The real question is, what song am I playing with the instrument I was born with? Prompt attached. Try it for yourself.